All right, in today's explainer, we are pulling back the curtain on a pretty powerful financial strategy. I mean, this is something that used to be just for the Wall Street elites. It's called the DeFi leverage loop, and we're going to break down exactly how it works piece by piece. So, have you ever stopped and wondered how a bank can take your $1,000 and, magically turn it into 2,000? Well, I'm going to tell you it's not magic at all. It's a very calculated strategy, and we're about to walk you through their exact playbook. The name of the game here is leverage. And the really cool part is that, thanks to DeFi, the tools you need to pull this off are no longer locked away in some high-rise boardroom. Nope, they're out there for anyone who knows where to look, and, more importantly, knows how to use them. Okay, so let's start by digging into what we're calling the banker's secret. To really get this strategy, we first have to understand the real playing field. And you know what? It's probably not where you think it is. This quote right here makes such a crucial point. A lot of people see exchanges like Binance as the final destination, but they're really just the entry point. It's like going to a casino and getting your chips at the front door. The real game, where these advanced strategies actually happen, is played on-chain inside these DeFi protocols. So, if DeFi is the casino floor, what kind of gear do you need to bring to the table? Well, that brings us right to Section 2, Gearing Up for DeFi. Let's assemble that starting toolkit. To get going, you're going to need three key things. First, a Binance account or something similar to act as your on-ramp. This is where you'll get your hands on your initial digital dollars, your USDC. Second, you absolutely need a Web3 wallet like MetaMask. Think of this as your own personal, private bank vault on the blockchain. You've got the keys. And finally, you have to choose a network to operate on, like Ethereum or Mantle, which is kind of like picking which highway your transactions are going to drive on. Okay, pay close attention because this next concept is literally the fuel for this entire strategy. On the left, you've got a standard digital dollar, USDC. It's stable, sure, but it's what you'd call dead money. It just sits there, it doesn't grow. But on the right, you have USDY. Now, this is a yield-bearing token, and it's backed by US Treasury bills. Just by holding it, it's earning you around 5.3% interest. See the difference? This turns your money from a static thing into a dynamic yield engine, and that right there is the key. All right, so your toolkit is assembled, your yield engine is chosen, and now it is time for the main event. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the mechanical core of this thing, the four-step loop. So this loop takes place in a very specific arena, a protocol called Flux Finance. The easiest way to think about it is like a super high-tech pawn shop. It's a decentralized lending market, and it's built specifically to handle yield-bearing tokens like USDY as collateral. This lets you borrow against them, which is the absolute linchpin of this entire operation. And this diagram lays out the loop perfectly. Step 1, you on-ramp by buying that USDC. Step 2, you swap that dead money for the live yield-bearing USDY. Step 3, you supply that USDY to Flux Finance to use as collateral. And then, here's the magic move. Step 4, you borrow USDC against that collateral, you go right back to step 2 to buy even more USDY, and then you just repeat the cycle. So, you've set this whole machine in motion, but what does all that looping actually do for you? What's the point? Well, that's what we're covering in Section 4, the multiplier effect. Let's see how this leverage actually works. Let's start with a nice, simple round number. You've gone through your on-ramp, and you're starting with $1,000 of your own capital, which you've already swapped into that lovely yield-bearing USDY. Now you take that $1,000 and deposit it into Flux Finance. The protocol has, say, a 70% loan-to-value ratio, which means it'll let you borrow $700 in USDC against it. You take that $700, immediately swap it for more USDY, and put it right back in. And just like that, after only one loop, your initial $1,000 investment is now controlling a $1,700 position. But why would you stop there, right? Okay, this is where it gets really clever. You can now borrow against your new, bigger position of $1,700. You loop it again, and your total position could jump to around $2,190. Now think about that. You started with $1,000, but you are now earning that sweet treasury yield on more than double that amount. That is leverage in action. Of course, this isn't just free money. The strategy is only profitable if your net APY is positive. And the formula for that is actually pretty simple. It's the yield you earn on your total, big, leveraged position minus the interest rate you have to pay on all the money you borrowed. As long as the money you're making is more than the money you're paying, the loop is spitting out profit. Now, I know this sounds incredibly powerful, and it is. But as they say, with great power comes great risk. And that brings us to our final and honestly our most important section, the underground warning. Look, this is an advanced strategy, so you have to be watching these risks like a hawk. First up is liquidation. If the value of your collateral drops too much, the protocol can and will automatically sell it off. Second, you have spiking borrow costs. If the interest you pay to borrow suddenly jumps higher than the yield you're earning, your profitable loop instantly turns into a money-losing one. And finally, there are geo restrictions. You have to be aware that this specific asset, USDY, isn't available everywhere, including for many investors in the US and the UK. Which really leaves us with this final thought. This tool, leverage, is a multiplier. It's an amplifier. It makes your winning bets bigger, but it also makes your losing bets bigger. And that forces us all to ask a really fundamental question. At what point does a calculated financial strategy cross the line and become just an outright gamble? The answer to that really lies in how well you understand and, more importantly, manage the risks.